Hi,
Hello.
and welcome to a Seen by Few special.
Yes, very special.
What makes this special? I'm glad you asked. It's my birthday.
Yeah.
And Nick said, what you want to watch for your birthday? And I was like, how can I torture Nick? So for this birthday, I've picked Dirty Work. And I'm sure that we'll have one view on this. Me. So, because people are clamoring to find out what people think about Dirty Work.
Yeah, what year was it? Like 96?
Yes. So it's an old movie.
It's a bit older.
Yeah, it's up there. So this movie came out in 98.
98, okay.
Yes. And this was back, I guess, in the height of Norm MacDonald's career.
Yep.
Where he started, like, knocking down...
Well, I don't know if it was the height, because it was... When we watched, like, the trailer, you're like, hey, Nick, had you seen this movie before? And you showed me the trailer of it. And it was like, they introduced him as SNL's Norm MacDonald.
And I think that's why it was, like, he was an up-and-coming star at that point, because I think he had taken over, like, the
Weekend Update or whatever.
Weekend Update, yeah. And I thought he was hilarious. Not a lot of people like Norm MacDonald's humor. I dig him.
I think a lot of people like his humor.
I speak to an inordinate amount of people who are just like, man, he's not for me.
Oh, okay. So that's where I'm at. But I've heard so many people be like, oh, Norm MacDonald's a genius. I'm like, okay.
It's the delivery. Like
That's kind of what I don't...
Yeah.
His delivery of like, and that's a joke. You get it?
Yeah.
I told a joke. I'm like, I got the joke. I didn't laugh because it wasn't a good joke.
But to me, I think it's funny just for the fact of if people don't like the joke, because if people don't like the joke, it's like he doesn't give a shit. It's like, this is what I get paid to do. This is what I do for a living. And you know, some people like it and some people don't. But he had a very devil-may-care attitude about it. And I respect that. One of my favorite things that Norm MacDonald ever did is they had a roast of Bob Saget.
Yep.
And did you watch it?
Probably, but back when it came out, so that was years ago.
Bob Saget and Norm MacDonald were best friends. And everyone got up and tore Bob Saget to pieces. And Norm MacDonald just got up and told, like, really just dumb jokes. He did not attack Bob once. And I think that was hilarious because, like, the audience, for the most part, were kind of quiet during his set. But it's like he didn't give a shit. He's not going to attack his buddy. And I respect that. I thought that was pretty good. But yeah, I wanted to do Dirty Work because I just happened to think of it and was like, fuck it, let's do it.
Yep, and it was on Freevee, so I mean, if this is one you want to watch as well, hopefully it's still there.
Yep. Or just go out and buy it. It's a good movie. Send the Norm MacDonald estate some money.
Or maybe hold off on that.
So anyways, all right, so Nick. Of course, we're going to give it a rating.
Yes.
I'm going to try and guess his. He's going to try and guess mine.
Yep.
Just because, why not?
Yeah, turn it into a game.
Yeah.
You can try to guess ours.
Yeah. I mean, go for it. Just put it down in the comments right now. We'll wait. All right, that's all you get. Yeah. Then after we do that, we're going to go straight into spoilers. So you've been warned.
Yeah.
Go, watch it, come back, and yeah, here we go.
Yep.
So Nick, what'd you think? 0 to 10.
0 to 10. I think I'm going to give it a 5. Because it's fine.
I had 5. And I was like, you know what? Maybe some of the jokes hit. Maybe he'll give it a 6.
I think some of the stuff I enjoyed was him being tossed out of everywhere. Or tossed into garbage cans. I'm like, that's kind of funny.
Okay.
But it didn't make me laugh. It's just kind of like...
Okay. All right. Okay.
For a movie, like, kind of pitching itself on revenge, there wasn't enough revenge in it for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They did, like, 3 or 4 revenge plots or whatever. I'm like, it could have been a little bit more. It's mostly about trying to make Norm the good guy. I'm like, no, he wasn't the good guy.
Well, it's even for the fact of, like, they found out that there was, like, a sweet old lady living in the apartment, and then he finds out it's the girl he likes, and he's just like, oh, well.
I'm still going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he wanted to save his dad.
Oh, yeah.
So, I get it. Maybe he won't get caught, and then they get caught. Yeah. So,
all right, so, Lance,
yeah.
What did you think of Dirty Work on a scale of 0 to 10?
I'm going to give this movie an 8.
Okay, that's close. And they could pick it if you didn't at least like it a little bit.
Oh, I love this movie. It's one of my guilty pleasure movies. I'll sit down and watch it every single time. And for the longest time when Joe was living here, we watched it one night. And for the longest time after that, every time I'd see him, I'd be like, way out of line, way out of line. You know what hurts worse? Well, the other thing, what hurt worse. But the other thing that hurts worse after that is the disrespect. It was just a thing. But yeah, this is this is one of my trap movies.
Okay.
So
It's like when it's on TV, I'll just watch it.
I have to sit down and I start watching it.
I don't think I've sat and watched this movie, but I'm pretty sure I've caught scenes of it on TV back in the 90s or early 2000s or whatever before.
Makes sense.
So I'd seen bits of it, but like when you're like, have you seen this movie? Like, I know I've not seen the entirety of this movie. Generally, like when a Norm Macdonald thing is on, I'd be like, oh, it's on Comedy Central. What else can I do?
You glaze over?
No.
You got it. Yeah. No, the man's a genius to me. I think he's great. Rest in peace. But yeah, so this movie has Norm Macdonald. It also has Artie Lange.
Yep.
You have Jack Warden as the father. Taylor Howard is the girl that's interested in Norm Macdonald. One of my favorite lines of the movie is when they're talking about Don Rickles. You know, like legendary Don Rickles.
Yeah.
And he was like, in the bloopers, I think he says, how you got this movie, I'll never know.
Yeah.
Like, and then Norm just has this look on his face like, I don't know either.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite lines. You have Christopher McDonald, who most people will know as Shooter McGavin.
Yeah, yeah.
You eat pieces of shit for breakfast.
I like that he always had the dog with him.
Yeah, he's fucking that dog. I'm telling you, he's fucking. And then like later on, Artie's like, and then we get. Oh, and by the way, yeah, he's fucking that dog. You have Chevy Chase as the doctor. I thought he was fantastic too. And then there's a couple of other names here. I don't know if there's any here that are going to jump out at most people, but
A few SNL people, like because Chris Farley was in it.
Get true. Chris Farley was in it, and I'm not sure. Well, that's neither here nor there. We don't need to talk about whenabouts he passed away from there, but also rest in peace.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those movies that I just love to sit down and watch. It's always funny to me.
Yeah, I think at this point in time the humor's aged a bit, where you have to be open for some more 90s humor if you're going to sit down and watch it, because there's a lot of he just talks to people very disrespectfully.
No, it's like
and just kind of blunt and like in just saying like, hey, look, I got some prostitutes. Like that's going to be, yeah, it's funny, huh? Prostitutes?
Yeah.
Can you imagine prostitutes as people? Like, okay, calm down.
He's tone deaf.
Yeah.
But the funny part, the thing is that Norm Macdonald's playing Norm Macdonald.
Yes.
In this movie. So I don't know if the man can act.
Yeah, I think Artie Lange was at least acting a little bit. I don't know if that's Artie Lange like had a character. Norm Macdonald was Norm Macdonald.
Yeah, it's I don't, you know, off the top of my head, I don't know if there's anything other than the Orville that I know Norm Macdonald acting in. I'm sure he's got. Oh no, he was also in one of my other guilty pleasure movies, Deuce Bigalow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, he's okay. He's a main staple, and it looks like a lot of Adam Sandler's stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Norm Macdonald is in a lot of stuff, but he's usually there for the Norm Macdonald delivery.
Yeah, for that.
I think in Orville he was actually like a character.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's in other stuff where he's been a character before, but a lot of times it's someone gets known for something, and when someone hires them, they don't hire them to do something new. They hire them for what they were known for.
That's true. And
So is it, you kind of get, as an audience member, you're kind of stuck. Is it they're that way because that's how they are and they can't act? Or is it that way because that's what they're hired to do and that's all the person wants? Like, I can give you this sort of thing. No, just be Norm Macdonald. That's why you're funny.
That's a great question. In my opinion, so Jim Carrey did a movie called, I think it was called The Number 23.
Okay.
Amber, was that what it was called? The Number 23? Yeah.
That was like a drama-ish sort of, was it a thriller kind of?
It was kind of a thriller.
Yeah.
Suspense thriller.
Yeah, suspense thriller. And I think that was one of the, I think he had other ones in there, like The Truman Show and stuff, where he was just not acting like Fire Marshal Bill and getting crazy and shit.
Where people actually let him act instead of just being like, we hired you to be Jim Carrey, you've cost this much money, act like Jim Carrey. That's why people are coming to the theater to see you.
Exactly. And I think when Number 23 came out, people were not crazy about it because they didn't want to see him in a serious role. And I think that's where a lot of people get typecast. There's only certain people who can get away from that shit, like Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
He can do anything he wants. He can write any fucking check he wants, and people will just they'll buy it.
Yeah.
But I think that
even Tom Hanks, Tom Hanks isn't really in many villain roles, is he?
The only thing I could think of was The Lady Killers. He was a bad guy in that, and he was fucking terrible in that movie.
So he gets typecast as like the good guy.
Usually, yes. I'm not. Is there any other fucking movie where Tom Hanks is a bad guy?
No, he's everything I've ever seen him in. He's usually just like a relatable, nice kind of guy. I mean, I've not seen everything with Tom Hanks, so I don't know. I mean, maybe I know Road to Perdition.
Huh?
His kid gets typecasted as bad guys, though. That's what's.
Who's this kid?
He was in Dexter, the season with Edward James Olmos.
Oh yeah, that guy. Okay.
I don't remember his son's name, but he gets typecasted as bad guys a lot.
Cool.
Yeah, and there's Road to Perdition. He was, I mean, he was a gangster, but he was kind of like trying to get out of it or whatever. So he wasn't like the bad gangster per se.
He was a guy that was also on a revenge trip.
Yeah.
So
I think he wasn't a good guy in that particular movie, but he's usually not like he's typecast.
He's not the bad guy. Yeah. Just bad guy.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. I think Jim Carrey's great. Like he did a show called Kidding that I thought was fantastic. It was really, really good.
I've never seen that one. I'd originally seen him in Living Color.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God. I fucking love
way
him.
back in the day.
Oh my dude. He's so good in Living Color.
And that's the show that might be hard to watch nowadays too.
Yeah.
It's mainly because it's back in the 90s. It's going to be kind of tone deaf.
It's a different time. It's a different time. We were a little less aware of people's feelings back then, I suppose. Okay. But yeah, it's people don't like it when you get away from what brings people to watch you do your thing.
Which makes me wonder, hence why I brought it up, is Norm Macdonald a bad actor? And it can only act like Norm Macdonald, or are people only hiring him to act like Norm Macdonald?
I think it's the first one.
Maybe?
I think he's just a bad actor.
I've not seen enough of his stuff to know that even if he really cares. Because I know like Adam Sandler, he's been able to act like in some things before, but usually he's just like, I just want to make a movie, goof around with my fucking friends, and do my own little wacky thing or whatever.
It's one of the most serious movies I've ever seen with Adam Sandler. It was Jack and Jill.
Oh yeah.
That movie was polarizing.
Yeah.
That was...
Where that scene where Dunkachino came on, you really kind of...
oh my God, burn this. That was the funniest part of that entire movie. Everything else was...
I've not watched it.
Everything else was Cats level fantastic. Saying if you watch that video...
Yeah, go watch our Cats review.
Yeah, we worked really hard on that one.
We had to watch Cats.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we didn't have to.
No, I mean, it's the things we do for the things we love, and we love you. So we were like, fuck it, let's really torture ourselves on this one.
Watch Cats.
Well, the scary part is when I saw that it was coming out, I was like, oh, because I like... Cats was the first Broadway anything I had ever seen.
Okay.
So I was just kind of like, okay, this isn't horrible. I didn't understand what the fuck was going on, because it's almost like a bunch of vignettes of like what cats do. And so I didn't really get it, but I was like, the singing's good. There's, like the dancing's good. I like the cat suits.
Well, they really need to make a Cats movie out of His Majesty, the cat in Baldur's Gate 3.
See, I haven't found him yet.
Yeah, he's great.
I've seen the clip. Just because everyone was like, speak with animals is like a fantastic spell.
Yeah.
And then they had the hiss, I say, go away. And I was like, okay, that's cute. And then
I didn't mean to offend you. You're offend me by your very presence.
And you're like, you're a good boy or something like that. And he's like, please go on.
It's like, I'm just here to admire your majesty. He's like, yes, go on.
Yeah, I saw a spoiler. Like I saw like the ox thing. And that's, I think, a big spoiler. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, stop.
Well, there's also like a couple other cats who refer to humans as servants.
Well, I mean, that's
right
on. That's right on there. And I was actually thinking about that the other day when, like, the studio that got this?
Larian.
When they got this, they were like, okay, we'll just make it like a Baldur's Gate. You just point and click. Dog goes roof. Cat goes meow. Ox goes moo. And then someone was like, there's a spell called Speak with Animals. And they're like, fuck, now we got to like...
Well, I think they've had it in... They've done Divinity and Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2. They've done some other ones, and I know that you can do some weird shit.
Never played them.
In those games, too, including talking to animals. So I think it was more of, let's have some fun with this shit, because the first playthrough, you might just skip it. Like, Speak with Animals. What the fuck's an animal going to say? And some of the animals have some of the best dialogue.
True. Yeah, it's been pretty fantastic. So, like, as soon as I got out of the gate, I picked a ranger, and I took Speak with Animals, and I was like, yeah, that's a rangery thing to do, right? And I was like, I never see myself using it. First animal I talked to, I was like, man, this is so good. But we're not reviewing Baldur's Gate 3, but we should, because Nick's played it.
I have played. If you get through it, we'll play a Baldur's Gate review.
Going to take a while.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while. Amber owns it, a copy for her. I don't want to buy a copy for the computer just because I don't have a great computer to play it on. But might be different.
At least as we're recording this, it's the beginning of September, so...
Yeah. I don't have a good computer to play it on, but we have it on the PlayStation 5, and me and her are doing a little couch co-op. So Jack will be 32 by the time we beat that game.
Quite plausibly.
So, we'll see what happens. And now that... we'll see what happens.
Oh, yeah.
But I'd like to do a review of it because we do movies and we get 12.
We get some views.
We get a few people, and then we'll do a Baldur's Gate, and we'll get 40 or something. But yeah, I wanted to talk about this movie. There's not a lot to talk about because sadly,
it's jokes.
Yeah, it's a comedy,
yeah.
And we're not going to sit here and be like, "Remember this joke?" I mean, it's just some of the jokes are great. The delivery, I think, on a lot of the jokes are funny. Like the whole. One of the things I think is brilliant about the movie is they don't waste any comedy material. Something always comes back in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, like with Chris Farley's nose getting bitten off by a...
That comes back around. I loved when they were ruining Don Giovanni. And the guy was like, this portrayal of Don Giovanni is so daring.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's supposed to be like, they're just fucking up the play. And the guy's like, bravo! And apparently, I went and looked up Don Giovanni. And it's kind of what they did on stage is kind of what Don Giovanni's about. So, Nick, I don't care if you are my son. Go find your own broad. I think that was kind of the whole thing of it.
Yeah, there was the car salesman again with that guy. He's like in everything. What's his name?
Dave Kochner.
Yeah, Kochner.
Yes.
Yeah.
The guy with the cowboy hat in the Ron Burgundy movies.
Yeah.
Dame Kocher.
Yeah. Well, he was the
Dave K.
The car salesman.
These cars are loaded. Yeah, they're loaded with dead hookers. Yeah, that's. I just think the movie's just. It's fantastic. We're not going to sit here and do blow-by-blows on the jokes. Just go watch it.
I would have liked to see a bit more of the revenge storyline things, because those were the fun bits. It's the one he's like, we're going to fit a love storyline in there. I was like, I don't give a shit about this.
Yeah, I mean...
It's like, oh no, I revenged the wrong person, and now I got to write it. I'm like, I don't care.
No, it's just, I guess it was just something to get back.
Yeah, you want him to not be the bad guy. Because the way they were doing it, they were kind of the bad guy. But, like, he was doing revenge for just petty shit.
Mm.
Like, my neighbor's noisy, so we're going to hide some fish around his house. I'm like, that's petty shit. Versus the put popcorn in the bulldozer that's about to... So there's things they could have done that would have made them a bit more heroic that could have, I don't know. Like the Shooter McGavin guy. I don't care. Well, it was funny that he had a dog all the time. And kind of funny that he fucked him over and be like, I didn't say I owned it, but good luck proving it, whatever. I mean, that's whatever.
Yeah, but the tape bit comes back around. Like, there's a lot of jokes that come full circle in that movie.
Yeah, the tape bit, I wasn't like something would happen. Note to self. I'm like, it's not my style of humor.
Get wart cream for the giant wart on your ass. Mm-hmm. Oh wait, no, it's past that. No. It's slapstick. It's just funny. But I knew
very, very unrealistic people.
I knew going into it that it wasn't going to be something that we were going to sit here and chat about for an hour.
Yeah.
I knew that. This movie's probably going to be about 20 minutes. Probably. But I wanted to make people aware of it because I don't know. This could be one that slipped underneath the radar.
Yeah, I don't know.
There are kids these days who have discovered Norm Macdonald because he did the whole podcast, and I think that one blew up pretty big.
Okay.
So if you're not aware of this movie and you're watching this...
I mean, if you like 90s SNL humor, I mean, it's kind of there.
It's straight up slapstick. Like, the whole thing in the beginning where like, they were getting people back, and he was like, he put the glue on his ass for the pedophile.
Oh, yeah.
Crossing guard grabbing a kid's ass over here. The dude's freaking out. Like, all those bits were fantastic.
Yeah.
Him getting thrown into the trash can.
Yeah, and just thrown out of places like face first. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, that whole thing was great. Oh man, yeah, we kicked those guys' asses, and then we threw one of them through a plate glass window. You did that? Yeah, no, but exactly the opposite that happened to us. Yeah, that was just great. There's a lot of small cameos in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't believe they got Don Rickles. I thought that was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just feel like getting a laugh and just watching big, dumb, fun humor that does not take itself seriously in any way, shape, or form, Dirty Work could be the movie for you. Not for Nick.
Yeah, it's forgettable for me. There was enough in it that was like, this is okay. And then there's some other stuff I'm like, and a lot of it has to do with the storyline, but at the same time, it's not about the storyline.
I just thought one of the things that makes me laugh is the prison scene. I'm just worried about what's going to happen to us in here. What's going to happen to us in here? You don't know what happens in here?
Yeah.
And he's like, no. And he whispers in ears. He's like, no. Like that whole thing was just, I thought that was hilarious. And then they're like, all right, let's go. And Artie Lange stands up, not you, fatso. And they look at Norm, let's go. And he's just like, oh, man. And then he walks off. Like, that whole bit was just hilarious to me. But, yeah.
Do you want to do your score?
Yeah. I'm going to show you what the internet thinks about this movie, Nick, and maybe you'll change your mind. So, Nick.
Yes.
What do you think the IMDb score is for this movie?
6.5.
Did you look?
No. Is it really 6.5?
Can you see the reflection? See, I'm actually holding my hand.
I'm blocked by the...
6.4.
Okay.
That was really impressive, sir. All right. Not bad. Right. We're not going to do the Metascore because no one gives a shit about the Metascore.
No, it's probably like 2 or 3.
Yeah. So, all right. Nick.
Yeah.
What did the critics give Dirty Work?
61.
61%?
Yeah.
The critics. I said the critics.
Yep.
The critics gave it 61.
Sure.
Okay.
Was it like 23?
You can go lower.
Oh, wow. Was it like 13?
One higher.
14?
14% by the critics.
Okay.
They just don't understand genius, I guess.
Yeah.
How about the audience?
Yeah, 14's a bit too... 14's too harsh. It's not 14.
It's ridiculous.
It's not that bad.
But I mean, this was also back in the 90s where, like, these people were, like, literally sticking their heads in the toilet bowl, sniffing their own shit. Because, like, that was when you were supposed to... That was, I guess, when critics were supposed to be, like, esteemed or something. Siskel and Ebert had a fucking show about them talking about movies. Yeah. It's crazy.
Who would have a show talking about movies?
Yeah, we at least are like being funny about it. We're not talking about like camera angles, and I think what the director was trying to go for here, this low angle, it makes him feel more powerful, and like that's Siskel and Ebert like crawled up the ass of most movies.
So like a lot of times movies have like deeper meanings and messages. I don't give a fuck. I'm watching a movie. So there's plenty of movies that like, when you understand the deeper meaning of what's going on and like the director's heart, I'm like, yeah, I get that. I know it. I understand that, but it's not entertaining.
Undercurrent stories, like things that aren't like fully on the face of a flick, if I pick up on it, it does make me happy and it does make me excited because I feel like I'm on an inside information.
Sure.
Sometimes there's like The Big Lebowski. First time you watch The Big Lebowski, you're like, okay, it was just a big dumb movie about a dude that fucking stumbles point to point. But when you actually like watch it a couple of times, and, like, everything's fucking connected.
Yeah, like this character, everything he says is right. Or whatever.
Yeah. Like Walter is right most of the time. The dude is wrong most of the time. Like it's the whole storyline. Like if you haven't watched The Big Lebowski, go fucking watch it. We can't do a review unless I do it for my birthday because he's seen it.
We can just throw it in it. Once it gets to a streaming service that's not, pay money for it, we'll loop back around to it.
We might do another channel just called Just Cuz. Yeah. Just so we could talk about good movies.
But, I mean, that's more of like watching a movie again and getting more out of it. Because it's all there in the movie. It's not like a deeper meaning behind it. Which sometimes that stuff's interesting. It's like, see, this movie was about like it turns out man was the monster all along. And it wasn't nature that was the monster. And it's like, okay, that's fine. But was the movie entertaining?
Oh, no.
If you can give me a message and the movie's entertaining, that's what's important. If you give me a shit movie with a message to it, it's not really...
It doesn't hit, yeah.
It's not that big a deal to me.
All right, how about the audience for Dirty Work?
So the audience would have to have come back after the advent of the internet and this website specifically to rate this movie. So I'm going to go higher with like a 68%.
68?
Yeah.
66.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you were 1 and 2 points off 3 of your scores. You shot the fucking moon for the critics, but yeah. Oh, that's pretty fucking good, man.
14%. Gee, that's so fucking low.
It's
It's
harsh.
not that. It's not that bad.
Because even with you saying that the audience had to come back and do this, so did the fucking critics. So
The critics don't post on Rotten Tomatoes. They are collections from other sites.
oh, are they?
Yeah, you don't. So I don't even know if they submit stuff to Rotten Tomatoes. Maybe they do, but for the most part, like Rotten Tomatoes is not a critiquing site. It is a site that collects reviews and kind of aggregates them to an average. What it doesn't do is that for audience scores, which is why sometimes the audience scores are skewed off because the audience specifically went to Rotten Tomatoes to leave a review. The critics do not.
Look at these motherfuckers at the bottom. That's their comments.
Emmanuel Levy, like there's no comments.
Yeah, it just has like
Rotten.
yeah.
Ribald Flood of Comic Bliss.
Yeah, like there's only 2 positive. Those are just the one. Show more reviews. Nope.
File not found.
Well, Rotten Tomatoes hates fucking Android. Yeah, a rabid flood of comic bliss. He's not wrong. A ribald.
I don't even know what that word means.
I don't either. Amber, what's ribald mean?
I would not be able to tell you it right now.
Hey Google, what's ribald mean? She doesn't know either.
Revolt has 3 different meanings. Starting with the most common one, revolt can be used as a verb to mean rise in rebellion, similarly to rise up and take to the streets. Is that the meaning you were thinking of?
Probably not.
I don't know. You tell me. Referring to sexual matters in an amusingly coarse or irreverent way. A ribald comment.
Okay.
Ribald?
That guy sounds really smart. Ribald. Ribald?
Ribald.
Ribald. Yeah, please type it out phonetically down in the comments for us.
Ribald.
Ribald.
Ribald. Okay, sure. Why not?
See, I would have said that's something that the hamburger would have said.
Ribald, ribald, ribald.
Ribald.
But yeah, I don't know if there's much more we can cover on this one. We can sit here and talk about some of the comedy. We can sit here and talk about how this movie tried to have a serious storyline mixed in with all the silly shit that was there.
Unfortunately, we're missing a lot of people that were a part of it, like Bob Saget, Norm Macdonald. I think Don Rickles is gone, isn't he?
Yeah, Don Rickles gone.
Who else? And Chris Farley.
Chris Farley, yeah. I mean, it's an older movie. It's funny because Chris Farley was one of my favorites back in the day.
Yeah.
Norm Macdonald is one of my favorites. I'm sure Chevy Chase is on the cusp. He's not looking so hot these days.
And whereas Chevy Chase is not one of my favorites. Mainly because I think of him hearing stories about how he is bleeds into it to the point where I can't get that separation because I don't really like his shit that much. Mm-hmm. So when you don't like someone's stuff all that much and they're also a bad person underneath it, it just kind of makes it like, well, I didn't like him anyway. I'm not losing anything by not watching their shit.
I watched a lot of his movies when I was younger, like Caddyshack, Fletch, stuff like that. And I thought it was great.
Like the vacation movies.
National Lampoon's movies, yeah. I've always dug him just because he's funny at playing funny straight man who falls down. Mm-hmm. And I call Jackson little Chevy because like he's gotten into like doing pratfalls now. He's actually pretty good at them. But yeah, I've heard he's a pretty terrible human being. There's a movie I need to get you to watch that has Will Forte in it.
Okay.
Where it's basically about the guy who creates National Lampoon. And apparently that I can't remember the gentleman's name off the top of my head, but apparently him and Chevy Chase were like really good friends. So the actor in the movie does a pretty good depiction of Chevy Chase, and apparently the dude's just constantly on fucking like coke and acid, and who knows, maybe that broke something in his head where he was like, people are not people, and I could just do whatever the fuck I want. And he's also was the biggest star back in the day, so I imagine he's got tons and tons of fuck you money.
Yeah.
And when you've got that much money, I guess everyone can eat a bag of dicks. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows what's going on in his head?
It would be a great experiment if people were to make us wealthy so we could figure this shit out ourselves.
Yeah, so we can get in the same circles with them and be like, what's going on with you, bro?
Or just does money ruin a person? Give me money to find out.
I don't think so. Yeah, but let's
test this thing.
Let's put it to the test. Just go ahead and donate to our Patreon, and you can get some of the tasty behind-the-scenes footage that we've been collecting. One day we got to make that.
Yeah, well, there'll be a Patreon someday.
Yeah.
When it's more than just us taking money from our friends.
Yeah, well, that's the one. And so we can't sit here and whine about, no one's donating to the Patreon. It's like, Amber's like, dude, it'd be coming out of our account.
Oh, yeah, we'd be losing money.
Yeah. They take their cut, and then we only get those couple of pennies. So
yeah.
But go watch the movie.
Yeah, Tom Fravy. I mean, if you don't mind 90s humor.
It's my birthday wish. I wish that you would go watch Dirty Work. Do wishes come true?
I guess comment below and let us know.
Tell a friend. Help us blow up. Or don't. It's your life. We're not going to tell you how to live it.
Yeah.
So, until next time.
All right. Bye, everybody.
See ya. Way out of line. Way out of line.